John, do you want to try a sound check? And if there's anyone from an applicant team that would like a sound check, please raise your hand. So I have, looks like G Batty, you should receive a prompt. Go ahead and give that a try. It looks like you're still muted. And I'm not sure if you're trying that sound, but I'm not able to hear anything. John, if you can hear me, let's go ahead and give your sound a try.
Hello.
Hey, good morning, John.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing fine, thanks. All right, so we're trying the sound check for one of our attendees here. It looks like a screen name is GBATTI. And I want to just let you know that if you're having trouble with the sound on your computer, you can use the call-in number that you see on the screen here. And when it prompts you, you can put in the meeting ID. And that way you will be able to use the sound from any telephone and you'll still be able to participate in the meeting. All right, Christine, you should have that prompt, and when you get all set, let's check your sound.
Morning, Kimberly.
Good morning, Christine. All right, let's try our attendee one more time, GBATTI, and I want to let you know if you do have trouble with your computer sound, you can stay logged on your computer to the meeting and you can use that call-in number from any telephone and that will connect you to the sound in a different way, but let's try it. So you should have a prompt, and as soon as you answer that prompt, your sound should be working as long as your settings on your computer are set or your device. But you can also leave this device logged onto the meeting and you can grab any telephone and use that call-in number for sound. Okay, so our attendee, Gina, I believe was the name you typed into the chat. If your phone call-in number is the one ending 2665, please raise your hand in the Zoom meeting. Okay, perfect. Okay, I'll change your screen name on the telephone number, and then we'll know who you are. Okay, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and lower your hand now. If there's anyone else of our attendees who is part of an applicant team and you'd like to do a sound check, please raise your hand. All right, we've got Andy and Manette. As soon as you get those prompts, we can try your sound checks.
Good morning, Kimberly. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so it looks like we have a caller with a phone number ending 9612. If you're logged in under on a computer with a device, so please raise your hand and I'll rename that phone number for you.
Good morning, Kimberly. Can you hear me?
Good morning, Andy. Hear you fine, thank you.
Okay. I will turn off my screen for, I'm just going to leave it on. We have 3 minutes.
Yeah. If there's any member of an applicant team in our attendees and you'd like to do a sound check here, please raise your hand. I have Peter Stanley.
Yep, I'm here.
Sounds good, thank you. If you want to keep yourself muted when that's appropriate, then we won't have to go through that each time. Thank you. And it looks like we have one more. Whoop, the hand went down. And there it is again. We have Malcolm Whitley. He'd like a sound check.
Yes, I was trying to find where to mute. Typically, it comes up at the bottom of the screen, but it wasn't there. So I see it now when you unmute me, but I wanted to be sure that we had the option to stay muted.
Yeah, appreciate that. This is the webinar version of Zoom, so the host has a little more control than the meeting version of Zoom. So everybody arrives at the meeting already muted.
Okay.
At this point, you can control your own muting and we won't have to prompt every time.
Okay, I'll mute out. And it doesn't have a participation list. I was going to see who was here from our team to make sure that everyone was here.
Yeah, only the hosts and panelists can see the
problem.
participants in webinar.
That's fine. That's absolutely fine. I'll mute now then. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. You're muted, Andy.
Thank you. And I'll start over. My name is Andy Gustafson. I am zoning administrator, and I am calling to order our regular meeting of August 5th, 2021. And welcome. Thank you for attending. So this is a virtual meeting, and it's due to the provisions of the governor's executive orders to suspend certain requirements of the Brown Act so that we can have these Zoom meetings or virtual meetings in an attempt to reduce or minimize the spread of COVID. Those of you in attendance, obviously, were able to either join us via Zoom and or call in with our phone number. I just want to, before we get into the meeting, review some mechanical or practical matters concerning the participation. We will, at various stages of the meeting, call upon members, either staff or people in attendance, applicants and the public, to participate. If you are participating by Zoom, you do that by selecting the hand symbol on the screen, and you'll be recognized. When you are recognized, you will have to unmute yourself to speak. Those of you on the telephone, when I open the item for public discussion or comment, you will press *9, and the hearing recorder or secretary will recognize you, and you'll be able to comment. So this meeting will be run like any in-person meeting. We have an agenda, and we will first start with a opportunity for public comment on matters that are subject to the zoning administrator jurisdiction, but which are not on this agenda. So if any member of the public or participant here wishes to make a comment, please raise your hand and you'll be recognized, and you'll have 3 minutes. And I'm going to look at our screen. And I don't know that I have a view of the participants. Here we go, attendees. I see none that are requesting to make a public comment. So let's move on to our regular agenda. I do want to make a change in the order of items on our agenda. We have the Courtney estate subdivision, which is, I don't know, I can't, if you continue to scroll down, I'd like to allow that matter to be heard at the end of our meeting. Let me, which item on the agenda is that? I can't see that.
It looks like it's already the last item.
Is it? Yes, it is. Excellent. Okay, thank you. So we do leave the agenda as it is. Perfect. Item 3.9. All right. Also, I do want to announce at the onset here that we have one matter that has been continued. That's item 3.2. It's for a minor hillside development permit at 3957 Rincon Ridge. For those of you who might be attending the meeting for that item, know that this will be continued to a date certain. It will be heard on August 19th. So there will be no additional noticing. Just please mark your calendar if you wish to participate in this item, that you're to return to this site to the zoning administrator on the 19th, and we'll take that up and act on that minor hillside development permit. Okay, so with that, let's start with our first item on the agenda, which if you could scroll down the screen so I can see item 3.1. I'll introduce this. It's a sign variance for 1165 Montgomery Drive, and the project planner is John Jay. Mr. Jay, are you ready to give your presentation?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Zoning Administrator.
Thank
I'll
you.
go ahead and share my screen. Can everybody see that okay?
I'm sorry, John, can I just interrupt you one moment?
Hmm?
Because I was just double checking, and Andy's correct. A lot of times if we continue an item, we are not going to renotice it. In this case, we did renotice that. There will be a new Zoom meeting ID for that meeting on the 19th for that hearing item, because we also have noticing going out to the Press Democrat as well as the on-site sign. So, and all of that information will also be posted on the zoning administrator website page. So that's where you can stay current with all of our meeting information also. Sorry for the interruption.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
Alrighty, can you guys see the screen there?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a sign variance for the Santa Rosa Memorial Hospital located at 1165 Montgomery Drive. The proposal is to install 122 total square feet of signage at Santa Rosa Memorial Hospital, which includes one wall sign, one window sign, and one double-faced freestanding sign where 100 square feet is allowable per zoning code chapter 20-38. Here's a location map of the site. Here is a site plan with the proposed signage locations. If you'll notice, sign number new -02 is at the corner of Sonoma Avenue and Sotiomi. Here's the first wall sign. I'll just kind of go through these quickly as they're just picture representations. This is where the new freestanding sign will be at the corner of Sotiomi and Sonoma Avenue. It's the new window sign that will be on site. As you can see, there's a total of 3 signs there, not 9. One being wall, a freestanding and a window sign with a total of 122 total square feet, where 100 square feet would be the allowable signage per the zoning code. Since this is a hospital with multiple entrances, strict compliance with the sign ordinance would cause confusion in finding the correct building for patients and oncoming staff that need to get to the correct building. And with that, staff is recommending approval that the zoning administrator by resolution approve the sign variance for the Santa Rosa Memorial Hospital located at 1165 Montgomery Drive. My name is John Jay. My contact information is here should you have any additional questions. And I believe we do have a couple members of the application team here that can answer any additional questions. I did receive one public inquiry about the project, and it was only to see the project plan set as he was noticed within the neighborhood. And with that, I will turn it over to the project team.
Thank you, John. Before we do, I just wanted to say your presentation, your slide and such, for me, was very clear about the proposal. Does the project team wish to add comments or additional information at this time? If so, please raise your hand. Seeing no member of the applicant team wanting to comment, I will move forward to public comments. If any member of the public wishes to, okay, we have one, and I may have been too quick on my moving to the public comment. Sharon Fury, if you wish to comment, please be recognized.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm Sharon Forey. I'm the applicant from Jones Sign for the hospital. And I just wanted to let you know I'm here if you have questions. Again, this is a new setup of Providence is now with Santa Rosa. And because of the complexity of the size of the campus, this is the reason why we've asked for the additional signage of the wall sign so that the community knows this is Providence. I know for years you've known it as Santa Rosa, but that they're now part of the Providence family. And as well as the directional sign on the one corner of the one building there, just to help direct the traffic in a case of emergencies, the doctor's appointments. We all know how that can be when we're just trying to get where we need to get as quick as we can. And then the other sign is in among the campus, just to help the staff identify where the different departments are. We've all been that where we're walking down the halls trying to follow the red, yellow lines, and you're still just not sure where you're at. We're hoping these additional signs will help take care of those situations.
Thank you very much for that comment. I appreciate that. All right, now, if there's any member of the public present who wishes to comment on this matter, please raise your hand. And I'll pause for a moment longer to allow people to find the icon or press star 9. All right, well, seeing none, I will close the public meeting portion. I think the need and purpose of the additional signage is very clear and compelling. I think the staff's resolution made the appropriate findings for allowing this exception to the sign area requirement. Clearly, a complex medical facility is a type of place where signage and clarity and direction are not just desired, but sometimes critically necessary. So I am pleased to approve this requested sign permit and wish the applicant all the best of luck. I do want to say at the onset here that I should have said at the onset that any matter that's decided at this hearing is subject to appeal, and anybody who wishes to appeal has 10 business days to do so. And when you add in all the weekends and such, the appeal date for this project, and I'm looking at my calendar, excuse me, the end date is the end of the day, Monday, August 16th. Okay, so with that, let's move on to the next item, which is my agenda in front of me, excuse me. 3.2 minor hillside development. Nope, that's that matter that's been continued. So we will move past the minor hillside development permit for 3957 Rincon Ridge Drive. And we'll take up now item 3.3, a minor hillside development permit at 3941 Sky Farm. And Manette Shikali is the project planner. Thank you.
Thank you, and good morning, Mr. Gustafson. I am going to share my screen so I can give you my project presentation. Okay. So, as you mentioned, this is a minor hillside development permit for a property located at 3941 Sky Farm Drive. So the proposed project is a minor hillside development permit for a swimming pool with a spa in the backyard on an area with more than 10% slope. Also, this permit is to legalize the reconstruction of the site retaining walls that were demolished and constructed without proper permit. Here is the site location. It is within RC, Rebuild Center, and the general plan land use is very low density residential. The house is going through rebuild already, and I believe at some part, like most of it is being built, but the pool and the spa and retaining walls require a hillside permit, and due to construction of those illegal retaining walls, they had to hold on the building permit for the house. So here is the site plan. On the right side, you can see the site plan location of the house. And I'm going to show you the area for the work that is going to be done. So 2 squares here on the left side is where the pool and the spa will be located with additional retaining walls. And on the left side is where the retaining walls are being proposed, and one of them is already constructed. I will go into detail and showing them to you. So here on the left side is where the previous house, pre-fire house, was located. And the right side plan shows the new proposed house with the addition of pool, retaining walls in the back. As you can see, most of that work is going to be in the back of the house, will not be visible from the street, and it mostly will be located in an area that was already disturbed by the previous house. And the pool location will be mostly an area with a slope less than 10%. However, the retaining walls will be placed on areas with slopes more than 25%. So let me show here. Okay, so here is the slope analysis map. And so those are the area of the work. The pool is going to be, as I mentioned, the pool is mostly on the flat area that is less than 10%, but those retaining wall to help with this development will be on areas that will be sloped more than 25%. It will be pretty steep slope in that area. So I want to show you here the old house, and here is the location of the existing retaining walls that they were supposed to be put, be kept maintained at the same location. The green area, the green lines are where those retaining walls were located. So here is, I'm trying to show you in 2019 and 2020, those are the retaining walls that right now have been demoed with no proper permit, and they have been constructed with new one. I just want to show you, based on the information and detail the applicant team has sent me, there is like a huge erosion happened behind those retaining walls. As a result of that erosion, they had to remove them, and the applicant team had to propose or place a new retaining wall to go behind that area that is eroded already. So this is the one already proposed constructed that the applicant team did not obtain a building permit for that. And you can see that eroded area is already in the back. So this one is the first retaining wall being constructed. There is a second one that is going to be constructed behind the existing one. I had received a call from actually email from a neighbor having concern about the amount of earth being removed from this property, and concern about if this work will be have any issues or be detrimental to the house above on the hill. As you can see, it's in this area. I requested the applicant to explain or show if the second retaining wall is needed to be constructed behind the retaining walls already been proposed there. And the applicant sent me a letter prepared by an engineer mentioning that the second retaining wall is needed to make the lower retaining wall more stable. I believe the applicant team can go more into detail and explain the requirement for the second retaining wall. So another page here. Again, I'm trying to show here what is happening. That retaining wall is already constructed, and the second one is going to be instructed 10 feet behind the existing one. Those retaining walls will be up to 10 feet also. So those retaining wall is needed to help with the development on the site. Here are the elevations from the site. It shows location of the proposed pool is almost on the second story, as you can see, because it's going to be 10 feet high. And this is from the east elevation, the access to the pool on the back side of the house. And here is the house, two-story house proposed facing Sky Farm Drive. And that red line shows the retaining wall has been already constructed, where it's going to be placed behind the proposed house. So as I mentioned, I only have received one email from a concerned neighbor across the street. Her concern was about the amount of earth being removed from that lot, and also there are two trailers parked on that site, and she had questions about if there was any permit obtained for those trailers, and I had to go explain what is required, and she can check with code enforcement about those trailers being parked there. So about CEQA, this project has been reviewed in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act, and it qualifies for Class 3 exemption under Section 15303, in that the project consists of construction of accessory structure. Pools and retaining walls are accessory structures. And with that, the Planning and Economic Development Department recommends that the zoning administrator, by resolution, approve a minor hillside development permit for the property located at 3941 Sky Farm Drive. And below is my email and my phone address. If anyone has any questions, they can contact me. And that was my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now is opportunity for the applicant or the applicant's team to comment, add information. So please raise your hand and you'll be recognized. I see Ellen Montes.
Hi, I would just like to introduce myself. My name is Alan Montes with Hogan Land Services. I would like to say thank you to Monet for the excellent report and clarification on the history and the project proposal. I'd just like to touch on a little bit about the geotechnical report. I didn't see the specifics in the uploaded contents. I just want to touch on that a little bit. So the upper retaining wall, sorry, if the upper retaining wall is not constructed, essentially the inclination of the backfill on the lower existing retaining wall essentially would have too much lateral earth pressure under the seismic conditions. And essentially, the lower wall can't be designed to accommodate the amount of load and pressure being put on it. Thus why the upper retaining wall is required. So that just kind of concludes my end of it. I'll just keep my moments short. And if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them the best that I can.
Thank you, Mr. Montes. I do have a question. Would the upper retaining walls be placed outside the extent of the current erosion? You can see, I think, on the plan where the erosion top part is intercepting the existing natural slope grade. Would it be within that area?
Sorry, let me pull up the plans real quick on my end. I had them and they just got exited out somehow.
And maybe, Lynette, if you could put the site plan on there with the
Sure.
showing the new proposed retaining wall.
Will that help?
Perfect. That's
Thank you.
exhibit. Yeah.
So it will be outside of the current erosion area. Essentially, we're essentially chasing the natural grade, trying to catch it at a point where we can build the retaining wall at a point where it will be safe and kind of meet all the requirements. So that's why it's outside of it. And the other issues why it's outside of it is, once again, the backfilling of the area between the retaining walls. That's the area where if there wasn't one, that's when the slope and the backfill there would be too great of a pressure onto the existing one.
So if I understand what you're saying and relating it to this exhibit we're looking at now, those contour lines are the final grade that will be established after the, excuse me, after those added retaining walls are put into place.
I believe that is it, or I believe it's actually going to be mostly a flattened area behind the two. So I think what we're currently looking at now is the existing slope. And then what's going to happen is it's going to be essentially flattened out and leveled behind it.
I see. Okay. So if you leave that photograph, what I'm trying to establish here is the area of work to accommodate the new retaining walls. Would the new retaining walls extend beyond the steep, sharp break between the erosion face and the natural hillside grade that we see in the lower picture?
So it will go a little bit beyond that. Just essentially, once again, it's just essentially catching that, catching the grade. So we're trying to get up back to that average slope area and then kind of recreating it from there.
Will it necessitate the removal of trees, existing trees?
So it's my understanding that our intention is to not remove any trees and to preserve them.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Assuming now that there's no other member of the applicant's team that wishes to comment, now's opportunity for any member of the public who wishes to comment to do so. Please raise your hand. Seeing none, I'll close the public meeting. And so I think this requested hillside development permit is appropriate and unfortunately necessary. I know with the reconstruction of sites that have been destroyed by the fire, and I believe this was the 2017 fire, a lot of the landscape changed as these sites were open for erosion. And I think in this instance, the cleanup work that was done and the erosion that occurred really altered the geotechnical issues on the site, and these retaining walls are needed to have establish a stable building site and help to avoid the potential for landslides in the future. The questions I asked of the applicant's engineer about the extent of work necessary to establish the retaining wall clarified for me that the disturbance that'll be created on the site will not extend substantially beyond the existing erosion area, and that there will be no additional tree removal. So based on the presentation made by staff showing that the work being done to accommodate these walls will be largely screened from view, and that there will be no tree removal associated with it, I think the findings that are presented in staff's report regarding the impact to the existing landscape setting, particularly as it's visible from public views, show that this project is supportable, can be approved as recommended. So it's my pleasure to do so. And again, note that if any member of the public wishes to appeal this determination, they can do so by the end of the business day on August 16th. Is that correct? I'm doubting my date. Sorry. Yes, August 16th. All right, so let's move on to the next item. And I need to get the agenda in front of me. Unfortunately, I did not print it. Sorry. Thank you. And that is item 3.4, a minor conditional use permit for 3557 South Ridge. And Manette is the project planner. Can you give your presentation?
Thank you again, Mr. Gustafson. So again, I'm going to share my screen. There we go. Okay, a minor conditional use permit, as you mentioned, and this is for a fence for the property at 3557 South Ridge Drive. And the applicant has already constructed a fence within the required 15 feet setback. There is no code enforcement issue for this fence. However, the applicant wants to legalize the construction of the fence within the 15 feet setback, and which is going to be 9 feet back from the sidewalk for the corner lot. So again, this parcel is located in Rebuild Center, RC. It's zoned PD, and it is the general plan land use is low density residential. Here is a site plan and the location of the house. The house is already constructed, and the red line shows the location of the fence. So for the corner lots, the required setback is 15 feet, and no structure is allowed to be placed within the 50 feet. And if there is a fence, it cannot be more than 3 feet. The applicant has constructed a fence that is 9 feet from back of the sidewalk and is up to 8 feet. Here is the look of the fence. It's a very nice wall-design fence. And as you can see, the house and the site is lower than the street. When I was taking the picture, I could see that house is like a place on the lower than the street, so you could see through the house. Adding the fence has created more privacy for the house, and it is placed 9 feet from back of the sidewalk. There are some landscaping and trees planted, so in future they can screen the fence. Notices were sent out to neighbors within 600 feet. I did not receive any call or emails from public regarding the proposed fence. And this project has been also reviewed in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act, and it qualifies for a Class 3 exemption. Again, the construction of a fence is an accessory structure. And with that, the Planning and Economic Development Department recommends that the zoning administrator, by resolution, approve a minor conditional use permit for the property located at 3557 South Ridge Drive. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Manette. Can you put the site plan on the screen to share? And then I invite the applicant or the applicant's team to comment at this point.
Sure. And here is the site plan.
Thank you. I see Mr. Cook. Please recognize Mr. Cook.
Hi, Mr. Gustafson. I don't have anything to add, but I just want to let you know that I was here. If there's any questions from the public, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you. Now, is there any member of the public in attendance that wishes to comment on this matter? Please, if so, raise your hand. Seeing none, I'll close the public meeting. All right. I read the resolution, reviewed the packet prepared by Ms. Shikali, and I think all the findings necessary to allow for a fence in a side yard fronting a street are fulfilled here. And I do want to note, if you go back to that site plan, that this fence is on a property where ordinarily, I should say, this property has constraints or limitations given its lot area and shape that deprive the property owner of the usual benefits of a rear yard that might otherwise be expected for development in the same zoning district. So I think again, this fence side yard reduction use permit request is very supportable, and I'm pleased to approve the permit. So thank you very much. Now let's move on to item 3.5. It's a minor conditional use permit for 3709 Oregon Street, and Christine Tumans is the project planner on this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Zoning Administrator. I will share my PowerPoint. So this is a conditional use permit 21-037 for a proposed fence variance at 3709 Oregon Drive. It's a corner lot. Oops. It's a corner lot with an unusual, sorry, there's a delay. This is the proposed fence diagram. It would be a 6-foot tall fence with 2 feet of lattice. That's what the applicant is requesting, that it be placed 7 feet from back of sidewalk. And let me advance the slide here. This is the project site. It's at the corner of Wyoming and Oregon. As you can see, it has an unusual curvature at the corner. It's not a standard curved corner lot. Has kind of a like a wide curvature. This is the existing fence on the corner side. Please notice the cypress bushes. The applicant is proposing to push the fence out against those bushes there, and it would be 7 feet from the sidewalk. Here is the applicant's drawing showing the existing fence and the proposed fence. And you can see he's indicated the cypress bushes along the sidewalk along Oregon Drive. Here's another drawing. One of the concerns with a corner lot and putting a fence taller than 3 feet in a setback is issues with safety. And the applicant has demonstrated that the proposed fence is outside of the clear vision triangle. It is as I said, it's an unusually shaped lot. The curvature is not what we would normally see for a corner lot. but the proposed fence would be outside of that clear vision triangle and should not pose a visual hazard for pedestrians or bicyclists. Here's another diagram showing where the proposed fence would go. This proposed fence is exempt under CEQA under section 15303E, and that the fence is considered an accessory structure. Staff would also like to mention that we received late correspondence at 8:17 this morning from a neighbor concerned about a potential visual hazard for bicyclists. She's concerned about the height, proposed height, and if that proposed height would create any visual hazard for bicyclists going to middle school or high school. And she's witnessed, I guess, cars not paying attention to the stop sign and rolling through, and she's witnessed an accident between a vehicle and a bicyclist before in the past. But given that the fence, oh, sorry, go ahead. Given that the proposed fence is outside of the clear vision triangle, staff still feels that it wouldn't pose a visual hazard. And with that, Planning and Economic Development Department recommends that the zoning administrator by resolution approve a minor conditional use permit for the property located at 3709 Oregon Drive. The applicant is present and can also answer any questions along with staff.
Thank you for your presentation. Can you put the site plan on the screen that we can refer to?
Sure. Would you like this diagram or?
I think one where we can see the street context. We don't have anything that shows a broader street. Go back to that aerial photo. I think it's probably the best.
Okay. Sorry, there's a delay when I advance the slides.
Thank you. Perfect. All right. Any member, does the applicant or any member of the applicant's team wish to comment at this point? All right, let's recognize Melinda.
You should have a prompt, and the sound will work as soon as you answer the prompt.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, yeah, my name is Craig Moeller. I'm the applicant's father. I'm the individual that drew that sketch. So I'm available for questions.
Sorry. Thank you. Yeah, so I think you've established the footprint or the location of that fence outside that rather broad vision triangle, which exists due to the very shallow, or I'll call it open curve. So thank you for that exhibit. All right. Otherwise, now I think I have no other questions. Now, is there any member of the public wishing to comment at this point? Please raise your hand. Seeing none. I will close the public meeting on this matter. So again, I think this particular property exhibits the same type of corner property constraint that often occurs where, because of the double frontage requirement and the location of the house, many of the properties are deprived of the same type of rear yard area that other properties in this setting benefit from. And this side yard fence would allow this property owner the benefit of more privacy, which is typically the case allowed in this type of residential area. The location of the fence behind the sidewalk is significant or sufficient enough that it doesn't encroach upon the sidewalk and create sort of a looming presence, but it steps back and maintains sort of open streetscape along that section of the roadway. Furthermore, the exhibit shows that the vision triangle here, which is intended to and I apologize for that phone ringing, which is intended to help ensure that cars, pedestrians, bicyclists entering or navigating that intersection have adequate sight lines to see that it's safe to cross or proceed. So I think all the appropriate findings were made in the resolution prepared by staff to support the approval of this minor use permit for a reduced side yard fence at this location. So this permit is approved as recommended by staff. Thank you very much. So let's move on to item 3.6. And Christine is a project planner again, and it's a landmark alteration permit for 748 Mill Street.
Thank you, Mr. Gustafson. This is a proposed detached garage with an ADU above for a residential property located in the Burbank Gardens neighborhood. The proposed garage is set in the rear of the property on an interior lot and is not readily visible from the public right-of-way. The proposed garage meets the setback requirements, and the garage has sufficient backup distance for cars to exit and enter the garage. The ADU is allowed by right and is not subject to any discretionary review. And the proposed garage does carry over similar materials and styling that is seen on the primary residence. And because of that, staff is recommending approval of the detached garage, and that would have the ADU above it. The applicant is present also to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. I invite the applicant to add to or comment on the project. We can recognize G. Bhatti.
So based on what happened when Gina was logging in, I did unmute the phone. So Gina, if you can try that sound on the phone, or do you want to try the sound on your device or computer that you're logged in on? On the phone, you want to press *9 to raise your hand, although I did already unmute that phone. So I already directed that phone contact to unmute if you want to go ahead and see if it's muted on your end.
We have another member of the public or member, participant, attendee raising their hand. Is that L a member of the project team? If so, we would recognize you.
Yeah, I am one of the residents here. If we can't get Gina on the phone, then I can answer any questions about the project.
Okay, well, let's give Gina a moment more, and if not, if we're not successful, I do have a question, and maybe it's for the project planner. I'll clear it out right now, and if and that is, I just am concerned about how that garage will actually function, given such an offset of the garage door entrance from the driveway. I don't understand or see how a vehicle will actually be able to enter the garage. And was there any consideration for that building to be located so that it lines up with the existing driveway and thus make it a functional access to parking?
So the way the accessory dwelling unit is, it's required to meet an 8-foot setback when it's a new ADU, second story ADU. And as you can see, it's right at 8 feet on the top there. So moving it closer, it would violate a setback requirement for the accessory dwelling unit. The parking section of the code does recommend certain backup distances depending on the angle of parking. And I believe it's table, let me get to it. Table 3-6, minimum parking space and aisle dimensions. And if a car is parked at 90 degrees, then there is a backup distance requirement of 25 feet.
And does this backup area, and that's to permit a car to turn around or and head out? That's a perpendicular parking space,
It
correct?
would be, yeah. Yep.
And so would there actually be the possibility that a car can turn around on this site? Because that would mean almost like a hammerhead turnaround, if you can visualize that, right? Is that
Yes.
feasible here?
And I believe that's why they proposed the pavers in that configuration, to allow for the car to maneuver in and out.
Well, so this matter,
Mr. Stanley has his hand raised.
you recognize Mr. Stanley. Are you the applicant's architect on this project?
We're working with the applicant. Yes, we are. So what I will tell you is that there's a 24-foot backup out of that garage. That the pavers that are shown there is just a hard surface, but there's a 24-foot backup in that sort of, let's call it the backyard at this point. But that's not how the applicant is proposing to leave his this area. Is that there is enough turnaround to essentially chicane a backup and then back up out of the driveway, which is virtually how most people back up out of a, so through a driveway. Is there are very little opportunities, especially in smaller lots, to have an ability to actually turn around. But in this one, you would have the ability to sort of come out and then chicane over to the existing driveway and come out. And Kristen is right that, we would have lined this up more with the driveway if the setback requirements had not been, sort of part of the development standards that we had to follow. So we're confident that you can get in and out of this garage effectively.
And thank you for that explanation. I can see that now, that the backup movements would be directly out of the straight back from the garage, driving forward in the chicane, as you say, to that side yard, and then resuming the backup down the length of the driveway to get out. Getting in is not an issue. Getting out is a little more work.
Yeah, it'll be a little more of a maneuver, but I think, you know, fully easily enough to execute. You know, slowly. Nobody's going to be coming out of here quick.
Right. Okay. Well, that clarifies a main
Backup
question.
cameras help now too.
Yes. Thank you. As long as it's not recording how it happens, that'd be good. Thank you so much. I think that clarifies to me how this will actually function. Appreciate that. Is there any member of the public that wishes to comment at this point? Seeing none, I'll close the public meeting. Thank you, Christine. I think the report you presented in the resolution you prepared provides the findings necessary to approve the project. I do want to note that this project does include an accessory dwelling unit, which is a permitted use and not subject to the matter of this permit, but it is the entirety of the building, and its design and location does show that it would not adversely impact the historic resource or the value of the property. So the appropriate findings are made here with conditions. So I'm happy to approve this project, and we can move on to your next item, which is item number 3.7, to rebuild the detached garage. And it is a landmark alteration permit also.
Yes, in the same historic neighborhood of Burbank Gardens. This is a proposed garage rebuild at 644 Pine Street. Sorry, there's a delay with advancing the slides. This is the subject parcel. It's an interior lot on Pine Street near the intersection of Pine and Brown. Here's a close-up aerial, and the detached garage is proposed at the rear or behind the primary structure. This is the site plan. So the original garage was damaged and is being it's proposed to be replaced. The new garage will meet current setback requirements to avoid any building permit or building code issues or expensive requirements when a building is too close to the property line. The garage is large enough to accommodate 2 covered spaces. These are some drawings. Unfortunately, a tree damaged the original garage, and these are images showing the existing site conditions. This is the proposed garage. It has similar materials to the primary residence. It won't be readily visible from the public right-of-way, and the applicant is proposing to paint it the same colors as the main residence. Also, the Ribbon Drive or Hollywood Drive will be maintained as well, and will maintain compatibility with other properties in the historic neighborhood. There's also a gate for privacy and security proposed as well and included in the request. Here are some color renderings or elevations and the proposed vertical siding that the applicant proposes on the building. And it's not dissimilar to what accessory structures would have been clad with for historic buildings.
That's bullshit.
Thad, could you please mute yourself? Thank you.
The proposed replacement of the garage and the gate are exempt from CEQA, as this is a replacement structure and construction of a small structure. No public comments were received as of this morning. And with that, staff is recommending approval of the proposed detached garage and gate.
Thank you so much. Is the applicant or the applicant's team present to and wish to make comments? If so, please raise your hand. I see Krista. Are you the applicant or the applicant's team?
I'm the applicant. I just wanted to let you know I'm here and if there's any questions. Can you hear me?
I can, and thank you. Appreciate that. Kristen, can you put up the site plan? I think there was one that showed also detail and site plan. I might toggle between them.
Yes, just a moment. Is
Well,
this what you're looking
Kristen,
for? Oh, sorry. Is this what you're looking for?
yes, thank you. All right, so now's the opportunity for the public in attendance who wish to comment on this matter to please raise your hand to be recognized, and you will be allowed comment. Thank you. And Krista, if you can mute yourself, please.
Yes, sorry about that. I'm not sure how to do that.
You will, I think the hearing secretary can do that. And I see Thad has his hand raised.
Yeah, I just want to apologize. I didn't know I was muted and I was responding to something else. My comment is completely unrelated to the discussion at hand. I thought I was automatically muted, so I apologize about my outburst.
Thank you. Thad, if you don't have any additional comment, or we will give opportunity for anybody else who wishes to comment at this point from the public. Please raise your hand. I see Krista still has her hand up. Seeing that there's no other member of the public wishing comment, I will close this item and move forward in agreement the staff's recommendation to approve this reconstructed garage in its new location. I will note that with the fence and essentially this structure will, or I should say gate, the structure will not be visible from the road and thus will not have an impact on the public's view of the historic resources or the character of the neighborhood. So thank you for your resolution and findings. This landmark permit is approved.
Apologies, you're muted, Mr. Gustafson.
Thank you. We have item 3.8, which is a landmark alteration permit to replace another garage on 712 Wheeler Street.
That's correct. So this is garage and fence replacement. This is the subject parcel. It's on Wheeler Street. It's an interior lot. There's a close-up aerial of the subject property. This is the proposed garage. We located at the rear of the property, 3 feet from the side setback. Here's some existing site photos. The original garage is in a poor shape, and the applicant is proposing to replace not only the garage, but the fence on the same side as the garage. And the fence would be similar to that gate that you see. It would have 6 feet of solid wood board and 2 feet of lattice. The garage will not be readily visible from the public right-of-way since it's an interior lot. Here is the proposed elevations for the garage. It carries a lot of architectural details from the primary residence. And the applicant also proposes to salvage as many materials as possible from the original garage structure. Here's the proposed new gate and privacy fence. They're very similar to other gates in the neighborhood. And with that, staff is recommending approval of the detached garage and fence and gate.
Thank you. Can you clarify, is the fence being completely replaced, or is it the addition of lattice on the top of the existing fence?
My understanding is the fence will be replaced.
Okay. All right. Does the applicant or applicant's team wish to comment at this point? Seeing none. We have one member of attendees raising their hand. James, please be recognized. Unmute yourself, please. You should be ready.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you need to turn off your other device. There you go. Thank you.
My apologies.
James, if you unmute your currently active device, you should be able to speak without echo. You are currently muted. You're currently muted, James. There you go. I'm going to guess your speaker works, but your microphone is turned off on this current device. Are you able to acknowledge in the chat portion of this Zoom meeting? James, I suggest you close your currently active device and call back on the other one. It appears your microphone was working on it. Call back or re-enter the Zoom meeting. All right, to move the meeting forward, James, we will continue trying to connect with audio. I will allow you opportunity to comment later, but I do want to give opportunity for any member of the public that might be attending to comment on this matter to do so. Please raise your hand. Seeing none, I'll go back to James. Are you able to type in the chat acknowledging that you're hearing us but are not able to speak? All right, we see that you.
I have returned.
Okay. All right. So I assume you're the owner or an agent for the owner.
I am the owner.
Okay. Do you have any?
Wonderful working with Chris today, and my draftsman made the whole application process very smooth. If you guys had any further questions, I've been anticipating getting this old 1923 garage rebuilt since the crash of '08. So I've been band-aiding and bubble gumming this garage together since then.
Well, we welcome the opportunity and the effort by property owners to maintain and improve their properties. I appreciate that, and particularly in our historic districts, to keep them current and vital and active with investment and effort. Thank you. I have no questions for you. I thought the presentation by staff was clear. So having heard from the property owner and also there's no comments from the public, I close this public portion of the meeting. So reviewed the staff report or resolution, and the presentation clearly establishes the proposed replacement of the garage would not harm the historic resource and can then be approved. I appreciate your efforts coming forward, James, and your presentation, Christine. So this landmark alteration permit is approved. Before we move on to the next item, I want to take a 5-minute comfort break. We've been at this for a little bit more than an hour right now. So let's return at 11:45. Thank you. Okay, I want to resume the zoning administrator meeting. Give a moment for everybody in the room to be ready. So this is the last item 3.9, minor conditional use permit and minor design review for 2558 Dakota Avenue involving the Courtney Estates planned development. Project planner is Kristen A. Kristen A, if you can give your presentation, please.
Thanks, Andy. This is a revision request for lots 21 and 22 for Courtney Estates located at 2558 Dakota Avenue. This is the it's an approved plan development called Courtney Estates. It's composed of predominantly single-family detached residences. It was approved with 8 affordable units that were to be developed as duplexes on 4 different lots. The applicant, this is the original plan and where those units would be located. And what the applicant is proposing is to consolidate those units onto 2 lots. This would allow for a landlord to be able to maintain and look after these units more efficiently. The affordable housing agreement requires them to be 4 rent units, and the rest of the single family detached units are for sale. So they're a bit of an odd duck, as you will, with in the Courtney Estates subdivision, being that they're required to be for rent. This is the original, this is the diagram from the original PD. So sub area A was proposed to be predominantly open space, and sub area B is the residential subdivision. What the applicant is proposing, so with those units congregating onto 2 lots, those affordable housing units, we are now left with 2 vacant lots, which would now be able, they are proposing to construct 2 additional single family units. And the proposal is to move the units that were originally allowed on sub area A to be allowed on sub area B. And staff believes that's a workable solution, as it would preserve more open space on sub area A. And here is the policy statement for the plan development, describing the allowable units in sub area A versus sub area B. So the total unit count for Courtney Estates is not increasing. It's just the units are being reallocated from sub area A to sub area B. Here are the 2 lots that would where the affordable housing units would be constructed. Here are the proposed floor plans. Here are the proposed elevations. And if you look at a street view of the neighborhood, there's they're predominantly 2nd story, but there are some single story residences in that neighborhood. Staff is recommending approval to modify the Courtney Estates project to allow for the reallocated units and to migrate the affordable housing units onto 2 lots, making the project making those affordable housing units easier to manage. The city housing department reviewed this request and had no concerns on moving those units over. Their main concern was maintaining those units to be for rent, as required by the HAP agreement that's in place. The applicant is present and would like to make a statement regarding the project.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. So this project, when it was approved, 2006.
I believe it's 2007.
7.
Mhm.
It was a subject to the inclusionary ordinance requirements at that time. I think it was called a housing allocation plan at that time.
That's correct.
And at that point, when it was approved, did it require these lots, these affordable units to be dispersed in the manner that the original map, approved map shows today?
So the policy statement doesn't mention anything about dispersion of units. It just has the required number of units and that they be for rent. It's very black and white that the units have to be for rent units. I don't believe dispersion was really discussed during the original approval of the project.
The policy statement is a document that memorializes the specific development requirements of the particular subdivision in this case. But would it wouldn't necessarily have reflected on all the requirements of the inclusionary ordinance at that time. So my question is, did the inclusionary ordinance at that time require dispersion? And so we can leave that open for now. The second is, this is a design review also. Did this go to design review board for preliminary review, or is that a requirement in this case? Design review board. Or concept review, I should say.
It wasn't, I don't believe it went to concept review, and I don't believe that was a requirement for this project.
Okay. Do we have any exhibits or anything to show that the proposed duplex designs are similar to the other units within the subdivision? And I should ask, has this subdivision commenced? Has there been construction? Have the improvements for the subdivision put into place? Is it under construction at this point?
Let me defer to the applicant while I.
Okay, that's fine. What I want to be able to establish is that these duplexes that have been placed on 2 lots, the total of 8 units, are similar to the design of the other buildings and dwelling units in the area, and in terms of bedroom configuration. And because there's no increase in the total number of units, as you explained, we're just simply shifting some of the 2 units out of the open space area across the street into the subdivision area. There's no density issue with regard to overall development within the subdivision. So it's not increasing, nor does it require a density bonus. Right. So I'll probably have more questions. I now invite the applicant or the applicant's team the opportunity to comment.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So my name is Samantha Hauser. I'm with City Ventures. We also have Phil Kerr from City Ventures here, as well as our architects and our land use team. So we're here to answer any and all of your questions. We shared with Kristen some images that would go to answer the question that you had asked about the similarity of the duplexes to the single family homes. And I don't know if now would be an appropriate time to share those, but yes. It's a very important part of this project to us as well, that the quality, finishes, and style in which the duplexes are being constructed is exactly identical to the rest of the homes. So this, Kristen, is it possible to put on the elevations? So I should say, so we are also the developer of the project that's next door, that's 100% constructed, called Fox Hollow. And this project is in a lot of ways an extension of that project. The streets connect, the architectural styles are the same, the housing styles are the same. So the images that you just saw on the screen were photographs of what the final product looks like. The elevations that are here, you can see what the single family homes and the duplexes look like next to each other. And then on the second page as well, you can see, I don't know, Kristen, if you could go to the next page, but we have a mix of materials of shingles, of board and batten. We have a lot of different breaks in the facade to create articulation and interest. And then, high quality finishes and materials. So the goal is to make sure that all of this coalesces really nicely, but also to make sure that we can get our management company, Vintage Group, who's a really high quality management company, to be able to tenant these so that we always have a qualified family living in these homes. I also wanted to mention that the locations where these are proposed are among the nicest in the project. They're across from where our model home is, and they're right across the street from open space that's open in perpetuity. With this change, the green space that's across the street will be perpetually green.
Thank you. The new configuration of the affordable rental units will be duplex structures, but it looks like two sets would share a single lot, and they would have adjoining garages for one, and the other one has a little bit of a different configuration because of the lot shape. Can you go back to that elevation to show how the two duplexes on one lot appear? I just want to take a look at that again. You can share your screen.
And Kristen, there's a second page, or I'm sorry, a third page even, that, yes, there we go. I think this is the one that you were looking for.
Yeah, so lot 21, and that is, okay, and what's the other lot? Lot 22, I believe.
Correct. I think there have been a couple of naming changes as we've gone through the process. So there's lot 21 and lot 22.
And can you show the lot 22?
And that's the front one. I think
Oh,
it
20.
used to be
All
called
right.
lot 20. Correct. That's the old naming. So we were trying to be clear. There are a couple of different processes going on at the same time.
Right. So this lot has a living area adjoining, just by virtue of how its lot shape compels this arrangement to provide parking and access. Okay,
Right.
all right, that's helpful.
And may I wanted to answer one other question that I had been working on with staff, which was the housing allocation plan that was referenced in our old, in our 2007 affordable agreement. City staff doesn't have access to that one, but they did have access to a subsequent one from 2012. And senior staff reviewed it and have confirmed to me that that version, the later version, did not require dispersion of the units. So it's everyone's understanding that dispersion is a new development standard and part of the current municipal code, but not the 2012 or earlier ordinances.
Right. Okay. And then the question I didn't ask of staff, but I'll ask you, there is a concession of a development standard being sought here. We haven't really talked about that. Can you explain it and show it where it is?
Sure. So there's a pre-approved concession of 25% reduction of the setbacks. In the PD, we are able to kind of meet the setbacks as they were written, but there's an asterisk note that says that setback is from the property line rather than from the back of curb. And so on this project, there's a little bit of difference into where that is. And if we interpret it in that way, we're unable to meet the 19-foot requirement. So it's really kind of a semantical issue.
Okay.
But we just want to make sure that we're able to meet it and we don't have to come back before you. But we don't think we're going to need adjustments in a lot of places, just kind of on some of the lots that are on corners where the shape is a little bit unique.
Okay. And does this exhibit explain that? Proposed site plan here?
I can send, I can either share my screen or I can send Kristen an exhibit that shows that right now.
But it's a interpretation that would allow on a case by case throughout the project. And this is a front yard setback, I assume.
Correct. It's the front yard setback. And in some cases, on corner lots, the side setback as well. It's most affecting the corner lots, especially where we have the curvature of like Clareton Street going to
Right.
Courtney Avenue.
It's hard to maintain the setback with the radius. Got it.
Exactly.
All right, so let's return to the inclusionary component and dispersion, the application of that requirement in the current code. It's my opinion that you are seeking to modify the agreement. And so in doing so, you're subject to current agreement requirements. We do recognize that the developer has an option for modifications for, I'll say for concentration in this point, which is a current requirement, or dispersion is a current requirement. We can modify it where the proponent is able to demonstrate that the project would otherwise be financially unfeasible. What I don't have, what I'm not comfortable with, is the current information about why would be infeasible financially. I understand the management complexity. It's not desirable to have several dispersed properties with that are maintained as rental units and needing management that is much easier and efficient if they were clustered together. Can you provide me more evidence upon which I can, stand to say that this project, subject to current inclusionary requirements, maybe modified consistent with those requirements?
Sure. I think that a part of this, a part of what's being kind of moved around on the project has not yet been discussed. And so one of the things that we are required to do now is stormwater treatment hydromodification. It wasn't something that was required back in 2006 and 7, but it's a requirement of the city, the county, and the state at this time. So what wasn't really discussed is on the southwest portion of the property. And Christina, I don't know if you could put the site plan up, but two of our lots in that area have gone from single family homes under the approved plan to stormwater treatment areas to be able to meet the requirement. So what's happened throughout the site is all of the lot lines have shifted. So if you look at lot 15, which is on the bottom left, and then across Country Manor, there's a small space that's not indicated. So that area, exactly. So that area has become stormwater treatment area. So as we've done this, we've had to adjust all of the lots. So lot 38, where you see one of the original locations of the duplexes, that lot size has had to shrink a little bit, and all of the lots have become slightly smaller, still within all of the development standards that are required. But what we've done is we've tried to make room for the current standards and still allow us to have the amount of homes that we're talking about here to make this work economically. So clustering the 8 BMR units was not really a part of that calculus. We're doing that really for the efficiency and rentability. And if we are going to go to the current standards, I'd like to understand if that means that those 8 homes would also be allowed to be for sale, because that may change our calculus as well. But I think what we haven't talked about here is current requirements applied to a 15-year-old plan have made these shifts necessary, not just for the affordable units, but throughout the site. And so, that lot 38, as well as lot 28, which had the affordable homes on them, are just too small for duplexes now. So I think that's part of, it's a kind of major underlying issue here.
I can appreciate that, that your net buildable area has diminished as a result of new requirements. And it's kind of somewhat the same issue here with the affordable units on the property and this dispersion requirement. And we have a safety valve for that allows projects to cluster in this case, or not be strictly subject to the dispersion requirement with evidence that is accepted as justifying the need for the clustering. So what I want to do here is focus in on and get that evidence before us that we can review and make part of the project, and base our action on that. So at this point, all I have is kind of this generalized description that it's more efficient to manage the rental units on 2 contiguous properties. But I need more than that in order to establish that there is a cost savings to do so over separate dispersed units. So I will require that before moving forward. And I would like to continue this matter. I just would like to set the most convenient date to do so, to come back. I'd like to do so at a date certain. And I'll also want to say that the design that you presented and the elevations that we reviewed here demonstrated that the proposed clustered duplex buildings will be similar to and compatible with the other development in the subdivision. So that matter, I think, is settled. But now we just need the financial evidence, the evidence that is a financial benefit to the project to make it feasible to have those units clustered. Is September 2nd a date that you can come back with that information for action?
So yes, I mean, we would even be ready on August 19th. It's really up to you as to when you want to move the project to. We can be ready as soon as you are.
Well, I think we need time for us to review it and it be available to the public to review.
Staff would also be comfortable with August 19th if that works for you, Andy.
So would the that would in reality mean, I'm going to look at my calendar again. Let's see. So that's 2 weeks from today. We should have that information as soon as possible, at no less than 72 hours prior to the meeting, so that the public can look at it. Would you? And then we need internal time to review it. I would argue more time is better. Would you be able to have this information by the end of the day, August 10th, or
Absolutely.
that would be Tuesday? Okay.
And,
Well,
and I really appreciate that. I appreciate your accommodating that.
Let's do that. So this matter will be continued to August 19th. Thank you.
And Andy,
Yes.
if I can comment, unlike the hearing item that we discussed earlier, where we sent a new notice, usually in cases like this, where it's not necessarily changing to a hearing, it's just continuing the item, we would not necessarily renotice that. So there will be a new Zoom meeting ID for the meeting on the 19th. Anyone who is interested in hearing this discussed on the 19th is going to need to monitor our website for that updated Zoom information, because there will be no additional postcard noticing.
Kimberly, do we have we posted the agenda for the 19th meeting yet?
No, preliminary information for the other items on that meeting will go out this weekend. The final agenda would be published calendar
on the 13th.
I was just curious if we should take public comment.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was thinking I got ahead of myself here. Yeah. So let's just answer this one question about, actually, Kimberly, we can talk about the publishing dates and all that kind of stuff separately, but you're right, Christine, we need to afford opportunity for members of the public who wish to comment on this matter. Please raise your hand now and you'll be recognized. Thank you. And I apologize for jumping ahead here. We have a number of attendees. I see 2 hands raised. Nathan and Alec, why don't we start with Nathan first?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate the meeting. I just wanted to comment on this notice primarily as a resident of Fox Hollow and one that relocated to this development last fall. I had no indication or information provided by City Ventures regarding the lot next door to my newly purchased home, other than potential for it to be developed, obviously, which is totally fine. My questions are really in relation to the locations that are being proposed for the affordable housing units. And it's not that I have anything against affordable housing. I'm a huge fan of it. I've lived right next door to it many times in the past. My question is primarily around its location and why was that selected, due to its potential impact to the property values of homes purchased on the lot next door. As a young family and someone who plans to live here for a long time, I'm just curious about the financial implications that might have on the community, and if there was any, reason for that. And then also, what's the plan for? I believe it was lot 28, where the original proposed affordable housing units are going to shift away from. Does that lot or the other lot, does it get changed into 2 new properties rather than the one? So any further indication about those items would be welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. And we'll respond to your question after we take all of the comments at this point. Alex.
Hi there. I'm also a resident in Fox Hollow, and I'll tag on to what Nathan was saying there. Like us, we're not opposed to the low-income housing coming into the neighborhood as well. And like he said, we weren't aware of it when we purchased our home. We live off Red Willow, and similar to what you guys are proposing for these lots in a duet. But we are a homeowner, not a renter. But it just seems like these homes, for the placement of them, kind of don't fit with what Country Manor is already existing. And then it'll be an extension on the Country Manor, but they don't fit what those homes already are at all. It seems like it's a poor placement for these units to be put in. My suggestion, I think, would be better off suited, onto Allegra in lots 1 through 4 of what they have closer to Fulton Road. It seemed they kind of be on their own, easier to manage if you guys are trying to condense them into smaller lots. But and also, if Vintage Group was going to be the ones that are going to be taking care of these for rentals, I kind of have a big issue with that, because we already have a major issue with Vintage Group in Fox Hollow maintaining our HOA. So if they're going to be the ones that will be maintaining these rental units, I have major concerns of how well they'll be kept up. So if they are going to stay on Country Manor, that could create a very much an eyesore for the neighborhoods.
Thank you, Alec. Are there any other members of the public that wish to comment? If so, please raise your hand or press *9. All right, seeing none, I will ask the applicant to respond to the question regarding why were these 2 lots selected? And can you explain what will happen with lot 28 now that that lot will be adjusted? And then finally respond to the question regarding vintage management services.
Sure. So the Fox Hollow development is to the north of this project, and north is up on the screen that everyone can see. And so the original current plan is for that lot 28 to be 2 affordable units. And then the 2 lots below, which are 21 and 22, would also be affordable units. And, as are additional ones on Courtney Drive, but I don't think those are pertinent to the member of the public's questions. Under the new proposal, lot 28, which is adjacent to Fox Hollow, becomes a market rate single family home. And the affordable stays where it is on lots 21 and 22. So this is not a new location for affordable housing. It's the location that was approved in 2007. But, consistent with what we've been talking about, we have designed these in a way where we want these, the intention is that everything looks the same, like it's all part of one community, there should be no perceptible differences between the affordable housing and the market rate housing. And I just want to remind everybody that the types of people that are living in these homes are teachers and firefighters and members of, the public that serve us. So this is not, a different type of housing or a different standard of housing. It's just housing that has a deed restriction on it.
Can you comment regarding the management question raised by the applicant?
Sure. So Vintage Group is a HOA management company that we have used on a lot of our projects successfully. This is the first time I'm hearing of an issue, and Fox Hollow is still actively being finished up. So I'm happy to circle back with those two property owners and work to resolve whatever questions they have or issues that they may have. And I can I'll provide Kristen with my cell phone number and email address, and I'm happy to share that with any of the residents of Fox Hollow who need a little bit of assistance.
All right, thank you. Okay, any other member of the public who has not had opportunity to comment? Is there any other member of the public that wish to do so now? If so, please raise your hand. All right, seeing none. And again, my apology for jumping ahead on the discussion on continuance. But let's continue this matter to a date certain on the 19th. I will direct the applicant to have materials to staff by the end of the day of August 10th to allow us time in order to review those documents and also make them available to the public for review. Also, I want to note that the Zoom meeting invitation for those of you who will participate via Zoom or by telephone for that matter, please go back to the website for the new login or meeting invitation code or instructions. So with this, I will keep the public hearing meeting open and we'll resume discussion on the 19th. I hope to see you then. And that is the last item on our agenda today. Thank you all for joining us, and I adjourn at 12:24. Thank you.